Good morning. It's Sunday morning. Yeah, Sunday. Scale went down again yesterday. Man, am I riding a wave? That's 5 losses in a row. We are in uncharted territory. 6.5 years, this has never happened. Same thing. I mean, it was rare to have 3 losses in a row before. Now we're talking about 5 losses in a row. That's insane. But down 1.4, I think it was 1.4, total down of 182.6, I think. So I am 17.4 pounds away from the 200-pound milestone that I set forth on the day that I joined so many years ago. And it just goes to show, on one morning, you could be sitting in a studio with a clipboard in your lap, filling out a piece of paper, and you could be doing what I did. That morning, I stood there and I was just thinking one thing in my head as I filled out this paperwork, becoming a member of WW. I was thinking, I'm going to lose 200 pounds and I'm going to reevaluate my life. I'm going to lose 200 pounds and then I'm going to reevaluate my life. You see, I knew even then that losing 200 pounds wouldn't be the end. It would just be the beginning of the next thing, right? And so many people, think that they get to the scale number they want and all they need to do is maintain. They lose the drive for things because everything is mundane and you're not chasing anything anymore. And in reality, there are plenty of things to chase, and the choice to do it is even harder than what you've already accomplished at that point. So even fewer people choose to make the choice of going to the next thing. What is the next step? What do I want to do? How do I want to challenge myself further? What further growth do I wish to accomplish next? And however many people get to the point where they achieve their scale result, that's a small fraction of all the people that start. And then the small fraction that goes even further and challenges themselves again when they finally get to that scale number and to do something completely different, that percentage, I'm sure, is even smaller. But I sat there in January of 2019 saying that to myself over and over again. I want to lose 200 pounds and I'm going to reevaluate my life over and over again. And if I quit every single time things didn't go my way, certainly I would never be making this video. Certainly there would be no podcast to go listen to. Certainly there wouldn't be people inspired by just the accomplishment alone. The idea is that no matter what, regardless of what the scenario is, you're pushing through. And when you get to where you're going, knowing that there's always more to continue to fight for, and knowing that just because the scale number is something that exists now in your life doesn't mean that there's not more to go after and more to give yourself even more, to strengthen your story even more and go after something else that you didn't really foresee. How many of us really can see our success, when you're sitting there on that day one, right? And you're saying to yourself, like I was saying, I want to lose 200 pounds and reevaluate my life. But all of the voices in my head were saying, you've done this 1,000 times, you're just going to fail, right? And so the ability to shut everything else out and just do what you're told is probably the biggest obstacle in anything, right? And because much of what you're told to do is mundane and boring, and it doesn't seem like it should matter. You know, when you're sitting there on that first day and they're saying, oh, you know, in order to know how many points you eat, you have to track, you have to weigh and measure, and all of that seems mundane and boring to do, but it totally necessary. I mean, the fundamentals of anything we do are the most important things and the most boring things, and it doesn't really matter the subject matter. You know, people who ignore the fundamentals don't end up being great at everything. They may end up being good, and they may end up being held back by their own arrogance to say, I don't need to do that. And so they are held back from where they could have gone, what they could have accomplished, what they could be, because they are unwilling to get past their own bullshit to say, all right, let me do the mundane stuff too. Let me do the fundamental stuff on a regular basis and not gripe about it. But that's what it takes. It takes falling on your face thousands of times. It takes getting back up, and it takes doing the fundamentals every single day, regardless of how many times you fall on your face and how many times you have to pick yourself back up. It's that simple. And now, 6.5 years later, I can say I'm 17.4 pounds away. At least I think I'm doing my math right. 17.4 pounds away from 200 pounds. I think it was 182.6 yesterday, or 182.2. Maybe it was 182. I don't know. But it was somewhere with 182. All right, let's just say it like that. And so at minimum, it's just under 18 pounds to get to what I said so many years ago. 18 pounds seems like nothing right now. But in reality, being this far in, the last 18 pounds are going to probably be the biggest mountain of all of them. And there is something weird to tap into here when, you know, I started getting interested in fasting. And I think I'm going to experiment with this. I'm going to go buy a ketone meter, because I'm very curious about this. Like, at what point, how long does it take for someone to get from eating a meal to ketosis if they aren't eating in a lifestyle that promotes ketosis, right? So I just want to know, like, how long would it take? And I'm willing to spend the money to buy the ketone machine, and it's the same as pricking my finger if I was a diabetic, essentially, and testing the blood to see how many ketones exist. And because if you have ketones, then you are burning fat and not carbs. And there's something to be tapped into there. And knowing how long it takes my body to get there, and I might even do it, I might even go crazy with it, and I might even say, I'm going to measure ketones on a day when I had a carb-heavy day and see how long it takes me to get to ketosis. And then I might do the same thing when I have a normal day when carbs are extremely low and I'm eating like a carnivore or animal-based life, and see how long it takes to get there, and go from there. But it is definitely, I'm definitely taking advantage of spending a bunch of time because of fasting in ketosis and burning much of the stored fat. I mean, all the time that we are sitting here doing this, we're either storing fat or we're burning fat. And if you're eating carbs on a daily basis and you are creating insulin spikes in your body, you're never burning the fat, you're only ever storing it. And it's sad to say it, because you live in a world that tells you everything's on the table. And I tell you that it's not. Because your body operates in the fact that if there's insulin present in your body, you'll never actually burn an ounce of fat, and you'll only ever store it. And if all you do is eat things that create insulin spikes, that's all you're ever going to do. And you may lose some weight, but then it'll become nearly impossible because you're trying to live what's causing the problem. Push hard and do what needs to be done. And no matter how painful it is what, you are strong enough to do it. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy yourself. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.